Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Back.
I wish
Yeah, we're an early morning. Yeah.
I get up, they go to bed.
I don't know, yeah.
I like the boot. We should have danced around the. But I mean. No, you do not. Do you want a name tag? That name tag. You don't have a name tag. But it's not required.
Well,
So I know there, you want to hang up down now or?
I've got it marked. I'll just start talking.
Just coming down, bigger. Well, I know. Yeah. We never exactly. No. Luckily, my car. Those rooms, I can think about it.
So, I got a couple of publications up here that are great resources. So, and you can get this at the library. This has everything you need, and it covers the entire county.
I used that. I had 3 days to find a place for my mom. They released her from the hospital to that place. And that was wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Mary, did you want a chair up there? Or are you gonna stand?
Have a chair.
Okay, good. If you want, you can do the pulpit, I guess.
Yeah, I got it where I wanted that thing.
There's the knee in pink. You don't need anything to learn. Me in here or something as a thing.
You can just do the introduction.
Okay. We'll have a thing. Okay. That's fine. You have your timer on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know, I don't need it.
I know. Yeah.
Because I don't have those. Little bars down here.
This is a.
Oh, yeah. Should wear them. Good idea. Like.
Isn't it red?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I can. Very like.
Probably going all over.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, it's noon and we just said we'd start at noon.
Good
So
morning.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming.
We're glad you're here. Thank you for coming for our presentation on financial matters. And as Larry said, we like to start on time and finish on time. So we actually have people timing him to make sure he's done. So make sure that you've introduced yourself to your neighbor if you don't know your neighbor. We have name tags back there if you want one. You'll also be getting your handouts and your feedback forms during the presentation when Larry gives the other Stephen ministers our high sign to give you the papers and stuff like that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and open up with a word of prayer. Holy Spirit, please allow us to receive knowledge, hope, and comfort as we gather here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And today, as I said, and Larry said, we're talking about financial matters. And Larry has been a Stephen minister since 2016. And he's worked really hard on this presentation, so please give him your undivided attention.
All right. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I think all of you probably know I'm Larry and yes, I've been working hard on this. So and if you have questions, we got time for questions at the end. Okay, so I'm not a financial professional, but I am like you. I'm concerned about doing the right things for the people that I love. And those are my important people. And I want to share this information with you this afternoon so you can do the same for your important people. This is a generation to generation process. If you'll need to communicate with others to help you give a gift of easier to those who remain behind you. Reach out to others. If you don't have your important people, those people that you love, close by or available, let the Stephen ministers know, and we'll try and assist you. We're going to talk about financial preparation, about beginning our preparations earlier rather than later. And this is something we can communicate to those around us, generation to generation. We'll talk about financial resources that we'll need as we age and how to plan to have those resources. You may think it's too late to make preparations, but this is a generation to generation process. So you'll be able to learn and you'll be able to pass this on. So I better get started. We're going to talk about aging and money, and who doesn't want to talk about that? That's a favorite for everybody.
Are we in sync here on the screen on the, am I one behind?
You're about one sentence ahead of me.
Oh, sorry.
But before, I'll let,
So just tell me when.
before we begin, I want a simple piece of advice. Stay healthy, okay? Focus on taking care of your health. Taking care of your health reduces the cost of care as you age. Exercise, diet, sleep, friends, community, a positive attitude, a purpose, they're all important to maintain your health. And that will reduce your cost of care as you age. Next one, Mary Jo. 7 out of 10 people over 65 will need some sort of care in the future. Those cats on the bottom 2 row, they need some care. And who knows where you'll be, okay? The next one, Mary Jo. Some people will get by with unpaid care from family members or others. Nearly half will need some paid assistance. About 25% will need more than 2 years of paid care. And 15% will spend 2+ years in a nursing home. You'll need to plan to cover those costs as you age. Next one, please. Okay, could we do the first handout, please? So the handout that's coming around is one of the resources that you can easily access. Other resources are Veterans Administration at VA.gov and AARP. They're a valuable source of information. You don't have to be a veteran or a member to access the information at these websites. Two great local resources available in San Diego County are the San Diego County Aging and Independence Services. That's at SanDiegoCounty.gov, and the 211 Community Information Exchange, which provides information about food, senior services, housing, transportation, family support, healthcare, mental health services in the San Diego County. Just dial 211. The sheet that I handed out, that's a resource on the federal level, and they have dozens of resource pamphlets. They're all very well written. They're pretty specific about the topic that they covered. So keep that handy. You'll need to give a little time because they will mail it out to you, but it may take some time. So give yourself 2 weeks to get that information. Okay, next one, Mary Jo. Financial planning. The financial planning for end of life should be a continuation of your lifelong financial plan. Over the course of your lifetime, you may have accumulated savings, 401k, or similar tax-deferred accounts, pensions, military and social security benefits, medical and life insurance, and other financial tools. Planning for this stage will use the parts of your financial plan you have in place and may require additional tools. It's important to remember to inform those around you of your financial resources. Make sure your spouse, trustee, executor, attorney, financial advisor, and children are all known to each other and are aware and know how to access your financial resources when it becomes necessary. Your attorney and financial advisor will be a valuable resource for your important people. You'll have to decide, with the help of those around you, who will have access to what, and inform your important people of your decisions and wishes. Communication is necessary to ensure that your wishes will be carried out. We're going to talk about what expenses may occur, benefits and resources you may have, and then talk about the paperwork, final payments, and expenses. Next visual, please. So what sort of expenses? What are we going to talk about? Well, in addition to your current living expenses, you'll accumulate new expenses as you age. Living at home or moving from home. This should be discussed early and discussed often. Okay? It'll take time to sort through the options and come to an understanding about what will work now and what will have to change in the future. Don't talk about it just once, because things will change. It's important that everyone's needs are met and everyone is comfortable with the decisions made. Next visual, please. Okay, could I have the next handout, please? The polls. staying at home. Important documents that you should have at home. Be sure to have your advanced healthcare directive up to date, your agent identified, and readily available. We talked about that at the last presentation. In addition, I suggest you have a pulse. The pulse is a physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. You have a copy of the pulse there. There's an explanation on the second page about the pulse. And there's a web site to gather additional information if you have questions. In addition, the San Diego County Health and Human Services Agency, the Aging and Independent Services, that was the website I showed earlier. They have available what they call File of Life. This is another document that records information about you, information about your medications, information about your medical provider. This is a very good item to have. It's well known among the emergency responders. All emergency responders in the county of San Diego are aware of the Vial of Life and the pulse. And they understand that they're required to comply with the information that's provided. Okay, so you can access this through the website. It's called aging.sandiegocounty.gov. I plan to have copies of these at our next presentation next month. So if you can wait that long, we'll have them here. Okay, home modifications. Changes to the home may be necessary for your safety. You may have to arrange your home to accommodate wheelchairs, beds, medical equipment. And those items, by the way, are covered by Medicare Part B. And we'll talk about that later. However, home modifications are not covered by Medicare. For modifications that have to be paid for out of pocket, you need to keep careful records. They aren't tax deductible. Modifications to stairways, doorways, grab bar and handrail installations, changes to door hardware, lighting, toilet replacements, even lifts are tax deductible. Okay, but you do have to pay for it out of your pocket. Bundling these modifications into a single tax year can help you maximize your tax deductions because there is a threshold for applying these deductions. So if you're going to make modifications to your home, put the list together and try to do it all at once so that you accumulate that expense in a single tax year. No doubt modifying one's home for accessibility is a big investment. And if changes like wheelchair ramps, accessible decks, other structures may not be covered by your normal homeowner insurance policy. If you have a caretaker or other non-family member coming to the home, liability coverage is an important consideration. And remember that any costly medical equipment like a power chair may be prone to theft. Your homeowner's insurance policy should cover personal possessions, but it's a good idea to contact your provider to ensure that your independence isn't at risk. Now we're driving. This can be very touchy and very expensive. So talk this over in advance. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your family. Just talk to everybody about this. Okay? It's an important decision. You need to get agreement of what's best for you. It may be advisable to drive only in daylight. You may need to limit the areas where you drive. Stay away from the freeway. You probably already think you pay too much for insurance. Plus you'll have maintenance expenses. It'll become more expensive if you have an accident. You'll have repair costs, increased insurance, and maybe even medical bills if you have an accident. It was an unfortunate situation. A lady, she was 83 years old, and she was in that accident at Zion and Mission Gorge Road. And it was dark. It's unfortunate that she had to experience that. I'm sure that was a big concern for herself and her family. That was a bad situation. It'll become more expensive, work out a plan for transportation when driving starts to go away. Ask people for a ride, tell people you need a ride, arrange with others to get a ride. Don't be shy. Don't put yourself at risk. You need to take care of yourself. Okay, next one, please, Mary Jo. Moving from home. Most people will prefer to age at home. If it becomes necessary to relocate from home, make the transition as comfortable as possible. Facilities can range from assisted living to 6-bed facilities to skilled nursing facilities. Facilities should be visited by you and your important people. Time should be allowed to ask questions during the visit. You should discuss it with your important people a couple of days after the visit. This will give you time for the information that you gather to sink in. Everyone should have a say and have time to think about it. Don't be in a rush to get things decided. Everybody needs to be satisfied. Now, this is a great resource for information for those types of things. This is available at the library. Okay, also you can request a copy at SanDiegoElderCare.com. You come up, take a photo of it, get yourself a copy of this. It's a great resource. Okay, cost of care. You have, there you go. So we have 3 visuals here, Mary Jo, so we'll take them one at a time. Okay, in-home caregivers may be hard to find. You may be able to find a caregiver through word of mouth. Talk with your friends, church members, hospital social workers. Contact community-based or county senior care referral services for additional information. Okay, this is great. I'm showing you some costs of care here in California. Keep in mind that these costs are an average in California in 2021. With the increase in the elderly population, the scarcity of healthcare workers, and inflation, these costs will increase. The paper in front of you, that you just received, shows costs in 2025 as escalated by 5% a year to 2025. On the visual, I've escalated the cost at a rate of 10% a year to 2025. I think my 10% inflation is closer to reality than the 5% that's on your handout. Okay, so keep in mind that the number that's shown for 2025 on your handout is probably low.
I have a question. For the monthly costs, and then you have the hourly rate, I could do the math, but I'm not going to. Do you know how many hours a day or a week that involves?
Yeah, on that slide, it's 44 hours a week.
All right, thank you.
Lost my page.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, homemaker services. Homemaker services, provide help with household tasks that cannot be managed alone. Homemaker services includes hands-off care. It includes cooking, cleaning, running errands, but no personal care. Okay. Next item is home health aid. They offer services who need more extensive care. It's a hands-on personal care, but not medical care. The rate listed here is the rate charged by an agency as opposed to an individual. And as I said, that's based on a 44-hour work week. Next one, please. Okay, now the next one is the community option. The adult day healthcare. This provides social and support services in a community-based protected setting. Various models are designed to offer socialization, supervision, structured activities. And you may be able to find some programs that will provide personal care, transportation, medical management, and meals. Next one, please. Assisted living facilities. These are residential arrangements providing personal care and health services. The level of care may not be as extensive as that of a nursing home. Assisted living is often an alternative to a nursing home. It may serve as an intermediate level of long-term care. Assisted living facilities are referred to as residential care facilities in California.
This one's working on this side.
Okay.
Here's there too.
There we go. Okay. All right, thanks. Nursing home care, these facilities provide a higher level of supervision and care than the assisted living facility. They offer residents personal care, assistance, room and board, supervision, medication, therapies, and rehabilitation, on-site nursing care 24 hours a day. You can see things get really expensive really quickly, okay? All right. The next visual, please. So what can we do? Well, there's some benefits that you may be eligible for. And while the benefits will not cover everything, it's good to be aware of them. And if you have questions about the benefits, talk to me after the presentation or write it down on your feedback form. The standard healthcare insurance policies do not cover most long-term care expenses. And as you can see, long-term care isn't cheap. If you or loved one is facing a potentially extended period of need, here's some information that may be helpful. I'm going to talk about Medi-Cal. Now, it's referred to as Medicaid on the federal level. This program is designed to help low-income families with both acute and long-term care. In 2021, the federal Medicare enrollment was 83 million people nationwide. That was by far more than who are enrolled in Medicare. Okay. So California's Medicaid program is known as Medi-Cal. And Medi-Cal is focused on providing benefit to low-income persons. It's based on 138% of the federal poverty level. And currently that would be $20,000 a year in income for an individual, or $27,000 for a two-person household. There's also a limit on the financial assets. And if you exceed that limit, you would be disqualified from eligibility. California's limit for assets is $138,000 a year for an individual, and an additional $65,000 for each additional person in the household. Medi-Cal is a confusing program that is administered by the state of California through each of California's 58 county health services organizations. So it really depends on where you live to see what kind of service you're going to get. Some counties are well funded for that. Other counties are not funded for that. You'll need assistance in exploring your eligibility for benefits. Here in the same, contact the County Health and Human Services Agency directly to ask about Medi-Cal. And again, that's at the San Diego County.gov website, and then put in HHSA. And again, that information is in the ElderCare. Okay. Now, if a person qualifying for Medi-Cal will have access to nursing homes, each state decides how much to pay these facilities. They have access to assisted living. Maybe we talked about assisted living in the previous part of the presentation, and it'll provide reimbursement for home-based or community-based services. Now, you may have seen or heard about PACE. It's in capital letters, PACE. That's the program of all-inclusive care for the elderly. It's a Medi-Cal program. You have to be qualified for Medi-Cal in order to access the PACE program. PACE is a model of care that provides a comprehensive medical social service delivery system using the team approach in a PACE center that provides and coordinates all needed preventative, primary, acute, and long-term care services. To be eligible, a person must be 55 years or older, must be receiving Medi-Cal benefits, and must reside in a PACE service area. Okay, there is one PACE provider in the county. It's St. Paul's PACE, and St. Paul's runs additional facilities outside of the PACE program. So you'll see their advertisements on radio and television. Normally they're advertising their residential facilities and residential care, but you can access their information at their website, stpaulpace.com. But they're two different operations. Okay, next one, please, Mary Jo. Okay, so the other booklet I have up here in front is Medicare and You 2023. Medicare services over 64 million people. Now, Medicaid is 83 and Medicare is 64, and that's why they're expensive programs, because they service a lot of people. Okay, it's available to people 65 and older, younger people with disabilities, and people with end-stage renal disease requiring dialysis or transplant. Okay, the information about your benefits is available in that handbook. If you're enrolled in Medicare, you receive an annual update of this publication automatically in the mail in October or November. Be sure to keep an updated edition of this publication handy so you'll be able to stay informed about your benefits. Everything in this handbook is important. Now, Medicare does not provide long-term care or cover the cost of long-term care, but there are some benefits that are important to be able to access. You'll have access to skilled nursing facilities following a hospital stay of at least 3 days. At skilled nursing facilities, day 1 to 20 will be covered in full. Days 21 through 100 will require a co-insurance payment, and after 100 days, you'll have to pay for all costs. Medicare will also cover doctor-prescribed home health services, such as physical or occupational therapy, but does not cover personal care, such as bathing or feeding. Medicare will cover medical supplies, including hospital beds, walkers, wheelchairs, blood sugar monitors, and oxygen. And Medicare will cover the cost of hospice care, including respite care for those who care for you. Note that once Medicare starts covering hospice care, it will no longer pay for hospital costs or treatments or prescriptions intended to cure your illness. Hospice is for comfort and care, but not cure. Things Medicare does not cover is most long-term care. Long-term nursing home care, non-medical in-home care, adult daycare, or assisted facilities. None of that is covered by Medicare. Next one, please. Okay, I'm going to talk about veterans. If you're a veteran, you do have access to home and community-based services. And those services are available to all veterans enrolled in the VA healthcare system. VA provides over a dozen different care programs. Okay. VA's geriatrics and extended care / home and community-based services provide a vast amount of information you can access through the website va.gov. Okay. If you're eligible to receive a VA pension, there are 2 additional programs that may help defray the cost of long-term care by increasing your monthly pension amount. That would be for those who need assistance performing personal care, are partially bedridden, are in nursing home, or have limited eyesight. Also, veterans who are housebound and substantially confined to their home because of a permanent disability. This you would apply through the VA services, and there's a potential to have an increased payment in your monthly benefit payment. Eligibility requirements vary and are based on your service-connected status and level of disability and your income. VA does not pay for assisted living, though it may cover some extra services such as nursing care at a facility. It's worth noting that the space can be extremely limited, and meeting basic eligibility isn't a guarantee of access to benefit. Also, income limitations do do not vary by state, but they do vary by local area. For instance, if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's recognized as a high cost of living area. So there's an additional leeway for income eligibility because of high cost of living area. Right? Rest of the information, va.gov is a great resource. I know people who have benefited from getting in contact. The service has been great. Hopefully your service would be great if you have a need. Okay, next one, please. Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about resources. And the resources are basically, for instance, healthcare savings accounts and other tax favored health plans. That takes long range planning. Holy smoke, I'm running out of time. Okay, so quickly, that is for people who have pay high deductible health care insurance premiums. So that would be if you were working and your employer provided a health care benefit, but it was high deductible. So you're allowed to take $3,600 per person or $7,200 per family and put that into a healthcare savings account each year to put aside tax deferred money into a tax-free account. And you can access that money decades from now. You can access it for co-payments, you can access it for medical services for both you and your dependents. So pass that on to somebody who is probably a little younger than you. And that is a benefit that is available if they're locked into a program with high deductibles. Long-term care insurance. Okay, long-term care insurance, depending on your policy, would include nursing homes, assisted living facilities, adult daycare, home care, and home modifications, if that's what it says in your policy. And that's what you're going to buy. Again, this is something that's normally purchased by people in their mid-50s to mid-60s. It would require a medical examination. It requires monthly premium payments. Okay, so most policies have a period where out-of-pocket expenses would have to be paid. It's a set period. It's called the elimination period, and it can last from 30 to 90 days. Then the benefits will kick in. Okay. Most policies pay up to a daily limit until you reach a lifetime maximum. And you'll submit your costs for reimbursement to the insurance company. So there's a daily maximum that they'll reimburse you for. There's a lifetime maximum that you'll be reimbursed for, and you have to submit your receipts for reimbursement from the insurance company. Long-term care insurance is complex and should be discussed with a trusted financial advisor, not a sales representative. If you choose long-term care insurance, you'll be committed to paying a continuing monthly premium to keep the policy in effect. The premium can increase over time. Your benefits may not keep pace with inflation, and you have a lifetime limit for your benefit. There's a consideration for an alternative to long-term care insurance. That would be to purchase a cash indemnity policy. You can purchase these through a insurance company. Okay, and in that you would pay for this policy, and the policy may be written that says you'll receive a monthly benefit of $5,000 once this policy is paid up and it starts paying out the indemnity. You receive that $5,000 regardless of whether you have any expenses or not. There's no requirement to submit invoices. You get the money and you can spend it any way you wish. So I would suggest if you're looking at being able to fund expenses through long-term care insurance, I'd suggest talking with your financial advisor about an alternative to that process, which would be an indemnity, and pass that on to your next generation. I think most of us are out of the mid-50s and mid-60s. Reverse mortgage. I'm going to talk to Tom Selleck. He'll tell you all about reverse mortgage. Okay, and he's right. Nobody's trying to take your home. Okay. Access to reverse mortgage is at HUD.gov. Sorry, HUD.gov. It's administered through that agency. It's a loan and it's not taxed. You can receive your money in a lump sum as a line of credit or as a monthly payment. Okay, so you need to be 62 years or older, and you need to have equity built up in your home. You don't have to own it completely, but you need to have a reasonable amount. The loan is due in full once the borrower has stopped living in the home for a full year or if they die. Married couples typically sign the reverse mortgage together, so repayment is due once both persons have left the house. So a reverse mortgage can be an appealing alternative to downsizing and moving out, because it allows you to tap into the home equity that you have and you don't need to leave the home. Even if the housing market drops, which I don't think is going to happen here in San Diego, but if it did, you don't owe any more money. Once the loan is made, I'm not going to make it in time. Sorry. Okay, because the loan it's a loan, it's not taxed, and it does not impact your income or assets for things like Medi-Cal eligibility. Right? Reverse mortgages may have high closing costs, and the interest rates may hover around 1% or more above the traditional mortgage. It can have some complex terms, so you want to make sure you understand. And maybe in reality, downsizing to a smaller home may make sense if utilities and taxes become a burden for you, or if the home layout is something that really won't work for you. Another item is the home equity loan. I think most people are familiar with that. It's you go through the bank does a credit check on you, and you're able to access the equity in your home. Unlike the reverse mortgage, which requires the borrower to be living in the home, there may be no residency requirement in the home equity loan. The fees may be lower, and the interest rates may be lower than a reverse mortgage. And there are no closing costs. You will begin paying back the loan immediately. If you're unable to make the payments, you could risk foreclosure. There are fewer consumer protections in the home equity loan than a reverse mortgage loan. Credit scores and credit history are a big factor. Okay. Next visual, please. Now the paperwork. Oh my gosh. Leave a gift of easier. Just as caring for a loved one is an act of caring, taking steps to make your survivor's burden lighter is an act of love and devotion. You'll leave a gift of easier that will be appreciated. So you need to get organized, and what are you gonna, what, and then all those papers that you got, okay? Getting organized, prioritizing tasks, and learning what you have and do not have will make things easier. I'm gonna give you a long list, all right? But don't worry about writing them down, okay? There's resources that you can access, and they're available to you. So I'll point that out as we go through. Start with planning your estate or inheritance. You'll need an asset transfer plan. You have an estate planning attorney. You have a will or trust. Our March presentation will address legal matters. Pay attention for the announcement for the March presentation. Have you identified your beneficiaries? Is your beneficiary list updated? Have you shared your asset transfer plan with your beneficiaries? They should know. You'll need protection if you're incapacitated. You'll need to identify your financial power of attorney. You should already have an advanced healthcare directive, which includes your healthcare power of attorney. That's your agent. We talked about that in January. Your financial power of attorney is a different thing. I'm gonna run over, Carol. Thank you. That's the way it is.
That's not my job.
No, have you identified your charitable giving intent? Have you told others of your intent? Do you have an outline for your contribution strategy? How much control do you want over how your assets are to be used by the charity? Your funeral and burial information. Future presentations will address both of these items. Pay attention. They're coming up later in the spring. Have you prepared a personal history or biography? This will help consolidate information for your obituary and also provide your life history as a remembrance for your family. You need to plan your final disposition in advance, how you're going to be cared for after you die. Leave clear directions about organ and tissue donations or your body donation to science or education. Register now if you wish to donate. Body donation will normally be at no cost. You can prepay for cremation or burial. Settling the burial arrangements takes the guesswork away. Have you prepared to know where your important documents are located? This is a pamphlet that is available through the information that's on this handout. It's on the back slide, and it's in the second column on the right side, planning for later years, safety and medical care, getting your affairs in order. I'm going to run through the information that's in this pamphlet, okay? But you can access this information through this organization. Check to make sure that the following documents are up to date and you know where they're located. Personal records, like Social Security card, birth certificate, marriage and divorce certificates. Your safety deposit key, where is that? Military and VA records. Union records, you may have a death benefit payment from a union. Pension system records. Names and contact information for relatives and close friends. Your financial records. Do you have the name and contact information of your financial advisor readily available? Have you identified sources of income? Have you provided Social Security and Medicare information? If you have insurance, do you know where your life insurance, if you have long-term care insurance, disability insurance, property liability or umbrella insurance policies, your vehicle insurance, and I'm sure you have bank accounts. But You have the numbers, you have the pins, you have the location of where your safety deposit box is located. Your prior year federal and state tax returns. You need to know where they are. People are gonna wanna look at those. You have your liabilities covered. Identify your property taxes, your mortgage and debt, your credit cards, your loans. All that information needs to be available. Ownership documents such as real estate deeds, home purchase and major home improvement records, vehicle titles, titles of other assets you may own, and investment assets and purchases. Your legal documents, wills, trusts, living will, your healthcare directive, durable power of attorney. And you may have to do an inventory of your possessions that you can share with your attorney, advisors, or expected inheritors. Obtain storage bins or folders to store paperwork, included separate folders for your documents related to assets, liabilities, legal matters, and ongoing household and business concerns. Finally, work with your important people to generate a letter of instruction for your survivors. Make sure to include everything from telling them where you keep documents and keys, to whom to inform about your death, to your user IDs, passwords, and PINs for your email and other accounts, and a lot more. A well-executed letter of instruction will save days or weeks of time. You don't need a lawyer to make this informal document. You'll need time and forethought to create it. Final payments and expenses. Ask your trustee or executor to notify the Social Security, VA, your insurance, any unions, and your pension system, and others that may be notified upon your death. Notification is necessary to access benefits that are available upon death, or adjust spousal benefits, or release payments to listed beneficiaries. To access these accounts, a death certificate will be needed. Expect that it will take 3 to 10 days to receive. Order extra copies, 10 or so that the original copies can be provided when requested. Now, expenses. Talk to your trustee or executor and consider who is going to pay for immediate expenses upon death. You may wish to leave an account to be transferred on death so there is immediate access to money. You'll need to prioritize obligations. Work with your trustee or executor to address the obligations that may range from utility bills to removal of personal property from a care facility. You'll be charged rent until the accommodation is vacated. If a Social Security, Medicare, or pension benefit is paid after the time of your death, the payment must be returned. Managing the closure of accounts will require you to identify what bills would have to be paid to keep things afloat. Prioritize fees over others. If you own a home, consider whether it'll be inherited or sold, or whether you should keep the utilities on, pay the mortgage, or hire service to maintain pool or yards so that it doesn't fall into disrepair. When bills start rolling in, it's common to think we should start writing checks. Please know that as an individual, you are not required to pay another person's debts.
Thank God.
Unless you are an executor, a joint account holder, or responsible payer for the account. Consult an attorney or advisor to help you determine what your trustee or executor is and is not responsible to pay, and the correct way to make the payments. before payment from a deceased assets or from a survivor's own pocket, make sure that you and your survivors know the legally proper thing to do. Next, please. Conclusion. Okay, I know that this seems like a fire hose of information. And I'm about dried out. We're gonna hand out the feedback form. Let the Stephen ministers know if there's other information you need. Stephen ministers carefully look over the feedback you provide. Feedback will assist in helping you move forward with your own end-of-life plans. Complete the feedback form so that you'll receive an email as a follow-up. Discuss and share this with your important people, family, friends, any financial or legal advisors. If you need assistance, note that on the feedback form, and the Stephen ministers will assist you. Finally, I want to remind you that I'm not a professional financial advisor. Our next presentation, Legal Matters, is on the fourth Sunday of March. Mark your calendar. Please, Mary Jo. Thank you for coming this afternoon, and start preparing your gift of easier for your important people.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, Larry, from Darlene and Scott.
Okay. Give me a chance to get a drink of water and we'll take the questions.
And let's give Larry another round of applause.
You just went over a little bit.
It's 15 minutes, right?
If you can bring the feedback form for us, we'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll take some questions for anyone who needs further information on this complex topic. And as Larry reminded us, next month, his son Adam's going to be our presenter for Legal Matters. And interested in that because I don't know all the stuff about powers of attorneys and all the different powers of attorneys and things like that. So that'll be March 26th at noon, and the room, and it'll be available in person and on Zoom, and also these are available on our YouTube channel through church. Mary Jo graciously set that up, so if you want to watch it at another time, or if you want to re-watch it because it was so fascinating, feel free to do that.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, any questions for Larry?
I was just gonna add, there's one, when you're going through the whole list of everything, towards the end, there's, you're talking about making people aware of bank accounts and this and that. And the other one was like, we have so many places where we set up auto pays
Oh, yeah.
to let people know those. Cause they'll auto pay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
That is a great one.
Steve said, in addition to, the list that I gave, you need to identify which payments are made through auto pay through your bank account or credit card. Okay. And
Think about that, because I do it.
yeah, that's probably a good idea to cut that off. Probably don't need that.
To clarify, Larry, you said that list that you were reading from is accessible through the website listed on here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And what's the title of that one? Like, I forget what it was, Adrian.
Yeah.
Something. And thank you to our Zoom friends for joining us too, if you have any questions.
Okay, so I'll pass this around. This is available through the website that's on the yellow page there. And this is getting your affairs in order. So that item is on the back side of that yellow page. Look at the right column. And there's a heading that says planning for later years, safety and medical care. And it's the first bullet, getting your affairs in order. That is this booklet. Just pass that around.
And I think that I ordered 25 of them, that should be in by next time.
And I ordered copies also. So we'll have copies of that pamphlet at the next presentation.
I have two questions there. I didn't quite catch, the VA does not cover blank. So that's just.
Okay, yeah, let me go to that page. Okay, the VA does not pay for assisted living. So, but there's a real nuance in that.
All right.
So you can get a better understanding by going to the VA website for geriatrics. And it'll provide clearer information, and then it's good to speak with a representative also. Joe?
I just did want to add one thing. Under many circumstances, the VA will cover palliative care. So check it out and make sure, because I've seen that information on the VA website. So rather than these, you may not get the extended care, but you may be able to get some kind of palliative care.
I just wanted you to, when my mother was alive with Alzheimer's, my dad was a veteran and I applied to the VA and was approved. They gave care money monthly for Alzheimer's patients. Took 6 months to get everything done, but they covered it.
So, yeah, so please access that information and ask. There's a lot of people who know a lot of things. And so it's tough to keep everything straight at one time.
And be persistent.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to make a comment, if anybody is considering moving to a facility, do your research while you're able to mentally and physically do the research, and don't wait until you're in the hospital at some point, and can't participate, then your kids pick for you.
Right.
And you might not like what they choose.
So
Good
yeah, you need to start talking about it now. Don't put it off. Aging the money. Hey, who doesn't want to talk about that anyway? They're anxious.
So I cleared out the San Carlos Library of their elder care directive.
Oh, you got those.
So feel free to take one if you need to.
Oh, that's great. Good, Connie. Thank you.
I just wanted to say you must have worked extremely hard on this. Thank you very much.
I don't think I did I, Carol?
I have a question.
Darlene has a question.
Oh, Darlene
Yeah.
has a question.
Well, will there be any of the paper materials available for those of us at home?
We will have materials at our next presentation that you could access. Would that work, Darlene?
Yes, or I could pick them up at church somewhere if they're going to be available there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how Pastor wants us to load his office up with more paper.
Well, we can put, this paperwork, you can put it in Scott's box, and you can get it next year when he looks in his box.
Funny.
All right.
You can put it in his box.
There's still room in the box, huh?
You can put it in the choir room.
Is there room?
Is there room?
No.
Jenny?
Yeah, I brought in a resource. I don't know if anybody here would be interested or if they would know somebody that might be interested in it. And this would be a resource for planning financial decisions if you have an adult child that lives with a disability. that might be receiving government assistance. It's a special way for you to plan ahead if, essentially, so you do not have to disinherit that child in order to, be able to keep them receiving those government assistance, but wanting to be able to support them with anything you could leave as an inheritance for them. There's special rules in order to do that. I brought in, if anybody's interested, it would be, you would find a lot more information about that through the specialneedsalliance.org. I did bring one extra copy of, it's basically a brochure that kind of tells you how you have to manage those assets, whoever would be managing your trust or that special needs trust that you would set up in advance. But it's a great way to be able to help support your loved one upon, after you pass. Because that's always a question that you might have, what happens when I'm no longer here? So anyway, I have that if anybody's interested.
Thank you so much, Judy. Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming.
All right, well,
And
it's
hand.
1:05, so I guess.
Not too bad.
I'll take it off the next presentation.
And your feedback form to one of the state administrators, please.
I didn't take it last time. Oh, well, I know.